Thursday, February 16th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. We'll talk about what's ahead here for us over the next several days and the next week, and I'll also share some thoughts on the long-range pattern toward the end of the month and into early March here. As this edition of the video goes along, there's a look from our Greensboro Tower camera here early this morning. Clear and pretty chilly. Same basic idea around Charlotte. There's the Dowd YMCA camera. Early this morning, temperature in the Queen City, as I cut the video, during the 5 a.m. hour at 35 degrees. Certainly a chill in the air. It's really cold up in the mountains. Look at that snow cover there at Beech Mountain. That is in the town of Beech Mountain, where the temperature resides at 21 degrees. And let's go up to the summit of the Beech Mountain ski resort area. Look at that. The wind howling around and the snow guns are fired up. Well, what a great sight for the skiers and the ski industry after what's been a relatively rough winter, temperature-wise and precipitation-wise. Looking pretty good up there as we speak. And there's your latest ski resort information. Pretty good stuff. A lot of snowmaking temperatures and pretty nice groomed and powder conditions awaiting you if you have an opportunity to head up that way over the next couple of days. Had highs that were pretty cool yesterday around the region. It was 50s around the Triad viewing area, a lot of mid-50s on the board yesterday. A little bit milder around the Charlotte area, low 60s in many spots, some 50s the further north you went and west you went. Basically kind of surrounding the immediate Charlotte area, had some 50s for high temperatures yesterday. Snow showers flying in part the Great Lakes region and the Northeast overall, snowing in places like Boston and up into much of eastern Maine this morning. But then you have to go all the way to the other side of the country to find the next significant storm system. That's in the Pacific coast area, parts of Washington State, Oregon, down into northern California, getting hit rather with yet another storm system. You've probably seen all the stories about the flooding issues and flooding potential there in parts of the western United States, and yet another big storm system moving into that part of the country. But back here closer to home, it's just a pretty chilly and quiet morning underway. Again, these are the 5 a.m. hour temperatures, and it's going to be a pretty quiet, docile weather day. High pressure along the Gulf Coast, the main weather player for the southeast today and tonight. Now, I do think some clouds develop overhead overnight, but it'll be a lot of sunshine today. And here's our high temperatures this afternoon, and then many of our lows tonight work their way down into the 30s. Now, tomorrow, quiet weather for your Friday. A warming trend will get underway. A lot of Friday sunshine, and there's our highs tomorrow afternoon. And then watch this. Here's the upper level energy. Piece of energy there in the southern plains. Friday afternoon moves into the Carolinas on really Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening, but there's very little moisture for that to work with. So mainly just some clouds arriving during the second half of the day Saturday. Could be an isolated shower or two Saturday late in the afternoon or Saturday night, but the rain does not look significant at all with that system. And there's our Saturday highs. The warming trend continues and continues still on Sunday. So let me show you the higher resolution modeling here. This is the European 500 millibar chart for today. Again, there's that piece of energy left behind. That's what swings in here late Saturday. As mentioned, though, not much moisture for that to work with. Down the road next week, another trough moves in, and yet another piece of energy kind of gets cut off on some of the computer modeling, and that makes the timing of rain chances next week somewhat uncertain. For the time being, I've gone with the idea of maybe a late Wednesday, early Thursday arrival of our next storm system with some rain opportunities. More on that here in just a second. Before I go into the long range, I'll step you through the short and medium range. This is the GFS for today. Quiet. Tomorrow, quiet. There's the system drying up as it arrives on Saturday. Sunday's quiet. Monday, Tuesday, and then eventually the GFS by late Wednesday and into Thursday brings that next system on in here. The Canadian, fairly similar here. This brings that system in here Wednesday. Notice kind of a chilly scenario on the Canadian with some cold air damming evident, all liquid, but kind of a chilly rain scenario there. And then it lingers into Thursday as well on the Canadian. So again, I've kind of favored that late Wednesday into Thursday time period for rain chances next week. Now let's look in the longer range. All right, now this is the European ensemble, and this is a plot of the EPO, which is basically an oscillation of an indice focused on the Pacific, and we've been in this positive phase for much of February that's driven a lot of warm air into a lot of the lower 48, but it should dip down toward negative territory for the last week of the month, especially the last several days of the month. And if you're wondering, the GFS is very similar. This is the GFS ensemble, and this is its EPO plot, and it is in the negative territory right through the end of the run, and even getting more strongly negative toward March 3rd and 4th. Now, some of the other indices you might be a little bit more familiar with, the Arctic Oscillation. This is the GFS operational Arctic Oscillation. There's the ensemble mean. If you want to get cold air to really lock into the eastern part of the country, you need a blocking type of pattern, and a lot of times that is indicated by a negative phase of the Arctic Oscillation. Certainly not seeing that, but it is at least trending toward neutral in the long range. We'll see. And so the result of all this here is this. Let me show you. Let me go back to the European model now. This is the operational run of the European. This is all the way out at Thursday the 23rd. Notice the ridging going up here into Alaska. That's an indication of those changes ongoing in the Pacific side of things. And then you go out to 240 hours. That's all the way out to Saturday the 25th. And you see the colder air, the colder setup trying to build into the lower 48. The Canadian ensembles, which is a product I really like, especially in wintertime. This is the deviation from normal in terms of 5,000 foot temperatures, and this is out at Sunday morning, the 26th, and so you're finally looking at some below average temperatures over much of the lower 48, and even out near the end of the run. Still, certainly not the blowtorch warmth we've seen, an indication of some below average temperatures. This is way out at 384, so that's out at March 3rd, and so that's a long way off, and so the deviations than normal sometimes get smoothed out the longer you look out in time. So that's an indication, certainly some cooler weather out in the longer range. I do think a colder pattern looks more likely toward the last several days of February, maybe into early March, but whether or not it will lock in, I just don't have a lot of confidence in yet. I'd like to see some of the Atlantic indices, the NAO and the Arctic Oscillation, cooperate if you want to see a longer term locking into the cold. Don't have a real good feeling for that as of yet. Well, that's it for the latest edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.